Today we go far beyond encryption and algorithms. We enter the facet of quantum technology where science becomes security and the said security sustains our humanity. And Anna Beata Kalisz Hedegaard, the CEO of Quantum Security Defense and Quantum Prime, stands at the nexus of physics and defense of cosmos and code of uncertainty and control. I'm Pavidhir V. Bharadwaj. Welcome to episode 41 of Genesis of Tomorrow. The following is a conversation about quantum technology in defense, security, the future of humanity, and much more. Also, folks, if you're interested in such deep science and deep tech conversations and are able to derive even the slightest bit of value from the show, please support us by clicking the subscribe button so that we can keep improving the quality of the episodes and keep on bringing such wonderful guests over for you. And now, without any further ado, let's get right into it. Enjoy and thank you. And we're rolling now. Firstly, formally welcome to the show again. And, let's start with your origin story. What drew you from physics and cosmology to finally working in the quantum domain? Unpack your entire academic roots in physics and cosmology and how they shaped your interest and trajectory in the quantum domain.
Thank you for inviting me, Hadvir. It's pleasure to be here. It's every journey has its turns, you know. Mine had a lot, so that's because I was as a child. I didn't have a plan, and I was always very jealous of everyone that knew what they wanted to do, and they wanted to be the doctors, and even if they wanted to be engineers, it seemed like they kind of knew. And every person that knew, I would be like, I also want to know. But I was very curious about many things, and I was also very lucky. I was allowed the freedom to simply explore as a child a lot. And I was engaged in a creative project, but I would always be fascinated with physics. My mom is mathematician, so I couldn't ever let go math. It was be always quickly checked, always, how's your math doing? But I also liked it, and you know, it's always driven also by the teachers you have and by people around you. I have went to good schools. I was surrounded with people that liked things, and I had this thing about teleportation. I didn't know where it came from. I was not necessarily so much into sci-fi, like not more than an average teenager. You know, that's everyone has the phase, but there was nothing particular about it. But it was always with me when I had to make a new decision and when I had to choose to study with. I really thought I should study special effects, you know, in the movies. I really loved that. But the exams there were only from humanistic studies. And I was like, I don't think I can do that because I was always in a math and physics profiles. And it's like, I didn't even know what that would mean. It was like, maybe that's not for me, those special effects. And then I just started studying physics. That seemed like a for some reason, very natural choice. Special effect, physics. So you know already how my brain was going. And then I studied physics, but also electronics and telecommunication. Then I went in Europe. Here we have a program Erasmus exchange where one can go for a year abroad. I took a chance and I went to Denmark to study computer science. As I say, I never had a plan, so I didn't like that computer science that much. And that was the first really strong time I looked on the teleportation and what is it about, except of that voice in my head that's interesting. But I never thought that there was a job there, you know. So, and at that time, they were making the first experiments actually in Aarhus in Denmark on a tabletop to teleport quantum states over 1 meter. And I was like, well, it doesn't look like a job, but at least a research. So I got a little bit more curious about it. Um, but at the university where I was, there was no one actually researching it at the time, and I thought like, okay, then I will just do something else. I didn't think much about it, so I studied first like a mathematical modeling actually of evolution with a professor to do a research on that. Then actually they founded a group like an excellence centers for particle physics and quantum field theory at my university. That's where the cosmology fascination came about. It was driven by a group and by the people. Uh, then I did my bachelor's actually in cosmology first, but I was working as a physicist in a company, and through that I got a scholarship to go to US for my graduate studies, and I was like, I'm just gonna go and figure it out. And that was in electronics, so that was again a shift, and it was next to Air Force Base, so very different topics. It was a lot of about radars and systems like that. I really liked it. uh, and I stayed there for, I went there for 5 years, but in the end I stayed only for two. Graduated with a master's in experimental nanomaterials in the end, because I was trying everything around. And then I went back to Denmark and actually did my master's also in cosmology. But then it still didn't seem like I had a plan. So I followed actually my husband. So I got married in meantime, and then we went first to Netherlands, and then I worked in a patent office in The Hague. At that time, all my colleagues that I studied cosmology was like, "Oh, it's like Einstein." But I was like, I don't know. I'm not sure what I'm gonna do with this further. And we moved to Germany, and then I worked again on a different projects. Was for DLR and was on a scholarship. I was doing mathematical modeling of air pollution, and I was still confused. You know, like you study all those things, they all amazing, fascinating, and I love the project. But I was like, well, it's still not it. It's not what I really. I don't know, like on all the levels, I didn't hooked to it completely. And 2 years ago, I was working as a patent engineer. So again, shift. So you can see how random work I'm doing. Um, and I was like, I think if I had to do something, I would be doing this teleportation, whatever it is. And then I just quit my job from day to day and decided to build entrepreneurship around teleportation, and that led me to this beautiful world of quantum technologies. And I just been learning and pulling all the knowledge I gathered, right? I mean, it's not like I brought empty handed. I brought all these years of studying. Um, yeah, so it's not only cosmology, it's all of it, it's this telecommunication and all of that. And I still benefit from that. I benefit from this interdisciplinary education. So what something that seemed like a random walk before, now when I'm exactly where I want, I never had such a peaceful mind. I'm doing exactly what I was supposed to do. I love doing entrepreneurship. I'm fascinated by the tech. I'm still the most excited about teleporting states into space. It's like it's this childhood fascination that came to me, and it's my big drive. Uh, yeah, and no, I don't know, no questioning. I'm exactly where I should be. I have no idea where I'm going, but I'm going there.
How does it work working in a domain that is at nascent stages of its holistic development? Like, what sort of a mindset do you believe it takes to become a pioneer, or just be decently good enough at what you do in a field where the rules are being written as you go along?
um, I think one has to have a bit of sense of humor, except of knowledge, and of course you need to like learning. I mean that's a very important. But having a bit of distance to yourself and just allowing exactly being being the least knowledgeable person around and just leaning into these uncomfortable situations where you have to learn things fast, because it's a really well how you're pointing it. It's developing so fast, so it doesn't matter even if you're entering it as a super expert, because even with all the specialized knowledge you're gonna enter it, but it's so early. So the applications change. You might have to learn completely new field to apply what you learned to something. So it's getting very interdisciplinary, and because of all the tools we're getting, I mean, it's great with AI, but AI is also pushing us humans to deliver sometimes even more creatively. Because the 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 mundane work, the repetitive work, suddenly can be taken by AI, can be sped up, and we as creative uh, creatures are not going to be allowed, I think, even in the future, to just be lazy. I think we will be able to use our creativity to maximum, leveraging everything, and that's what will make us, from one side, I think it's exciting, but it's also, um, we have to accept that we can grow that fast only if we can rely on all those tools and use something that is uniquely ours. That means connecting things from different fields, be creative, having those random ideas that the machines still not have, like when people say, oh, I just went to the park and then I just was looking on something and it just made me think. Like the machine will not do that, and that is what we will be able to contribute more and more. And I think that aspect, this playful aspect, that will be a key to be in the field. And I think will not only allow people to be good, I think people will enjoy it more, because it's maybe way more human, connected with what we actually really good at, and would be very dynamic and very diverse what we will be able to do leveraging all those tools.
A little segue for people to just understand better what you do. What exactly did you mean when you said teleporting stuff to space? Like, what is it that you do?
I wish I knew what it would really be. Then I would be already, going fast with that business. No, I mean, it's what I have a vision in my head that is driving me, and how it started for me is having those intelligence networks in space. So I've been always fascinated how our brain works. How we actually get those ideas, how it is that you can look on something and take a pattern of one dynamic system and then see it somewhere else. And like in the times of AI, when we look on this amazing tool, I believe that it is not any close to what our brains can do to this connections. And I believe that they're connecting now quantum devices, quantum sensors, connecting them through entanglement, allowing teleportation of states, will in a future lead to way smarter networks that will be able to solve problems ever close to how we think. And I guess I like space. I don't know. I can't really tell why it has to be in space. In my head, it has to be in space. Why? Maybe from energy reasons. Maybe because it's a natural human um, next endeavor to really conquer space. We've been kind of shying around it. We always been looking into space, being fascinated. You mentioned this cosmology, that I've been also studying. We always look what's there, what's more. We want to know where we're coming from, and space is where we want to naturally explore. We have this adventure in us as human species. And maybe that's why I see it in space. And then we will be leveraging it for computing, for communication, and we will need better system, more energy efficient systems, smarter systems. And I hope I will be just somehow part of it. That would be just fantastic.
Two different perspectives, like if you break it down, one seeing it from a completely scientific driven innovation and R&D perspective, and the other from global landscape and geopolitics angle. What do you think the advent of quantum networks, as such, if we talk about them, will implicate in these particular two regards? One being the scientific development, the scientific implications, and the second being the geopolitical implications.
Yes, so for scientific, it's easier to say. It's driven typically by those big dreams, right? By this adventure, and I think that's what the scientific community wants. There is a lot of this very pure need of discovering new things, and I think we will be going with that in with this curiosity driven and simply wanting to see new solutions. How fast, what exactly where we're going to be stumbling, I think that's the part of the adventure. We don't know, but we are driven by that, and we will be going there. We already know that the quantum technologies offers so many new opportunities in the future. We see it in science. We can, we manipulate it on that level, and we see potential of going to designing things, not discovering things on that fundamental level, which is mind blowing on the capabilities. So it's like, speaking shortly, what it will open, it's impossible. It will open so much, and we will be diving into it on so many different levels, scientific levels, but also application levels, business levels. The geopolitics is complicated. It's nothing, nothing like this pure scientific thing. It's everything from logical to absolutely illogical to aligning with what is good for humans, and sometimes, unfortunately, absolutely not representing what would be good for us humans in general. And in that, what I hope so, and what is something that drives me, is that those conversations about those emerging technologies will be keep being pushed to ever more global rooms where everyone has something to say. Because with this speed of development, it's very important that we find a way of building those technologies in a holistic way. And when I say holistic, I mean like a lot of things. I would like to see those technologies being solving problems that are important all over the world for different things. Every country has their own geographical situation, their history, their culture, and they want to leverage that to better their lives. And I hope we will find a way to, despite that those technologies of course offer a lot of threats, and that has to be navigated, and that's the complex part. But there is this human right part to access the technology that can leverage life conditions. And we need to have those difficult conversations, because geopolitics is not logical. Geopolitics is complicated. We see it today, how fast it can change, how abruptly it can realign mindsets and also strategies of the companies, of the countries, and where the money goes, and what how big impact rules can have. And if technology is developed so fast, it's almost scary that we are somehow still behind on the conversations. We hardly catching up, with AI conversations. Like it's like we're trying to run after those conversations, and here is quantum coming, and we are still not having diplomatic way of navigating those complexities. And I hope that we will keep on pushing that direction, to keep building better world. I would like, that we as humanity all over the world, we keep on going the better way, not more closed way and the difficult. I would like that we keep the good momentum somehow.
To lay a basis of why or what makes the quantum developments in the area of maybe cybersecurity or communication or networking, uh, what makes it better than the traditional methods?
This amazing fact that we can control it there. It's a next level of engineering, being able to take a photon and dictate it what to do. It's That's better because it's a level of engineering solutions when you can take it one by one and then do math on it, right? You can compute with those states. You can do a cryptography with them, and they have those quantum mechanical properties that allow us to not only control them, but they have their own behaviors that are different from classicals. And that means that if a system is probabilistic, we need to respect that. It annoys us because it can give all the chaos in computing, and then we have all this error correcting to still get information out of it. But we leverage it for sensing, this beautiful uh, probabilistic noise from those systems. And we also use that as an opportunity that if we disturb that system will tell us what happened to it. It's been measured. Now we know what's that it happened to it. So we leverage it again in cybersecurity, because you can't disturb the quantum communication without the involved parties knowing about it. So those properties of a single particle that have those quantum mechanical properties, of being in this superposition, of being in this probability cloud, or depending on your technical knowledge, how you want to think about it, can be applied on the engineering level in a many different ways. And they are better, but they also different. And that's sometimes an undervalued part, that it's not only that they better in something, they simply different.
In the similar breath, what would we have to say about the cyber security aspect in terms of the attack vector? Like, how do you prepare against an attack vector that does not exist but just suddenly will? Because that is the thing with quantum cryptography, right? When we are saying that something is so private in the line between the two ends of communication that nobody is able to know the information, that also holds true for a enemy communication line, right? And how do you defend against something like that?
Yeah, it's back to that question. I think you really pointed it out very well. It's this part of technology and science and the capability of it, and then there is this aspect of politics, of laws, of regulations, and they are very intertwined and they are very complex to navigate, but we need to do it. So from one point, of course, when we think about it, wouldn't that be lovely that no one can overhear the top secrets or cannot hack my DNA information or my private information? That's great when you only look on this aspect. But is it good when people that and there is always someone that have malicious intentions, and I'm not talking even on a political level, on a geopolitical, but simply on the human side, right? There are people that do bad things, and oh, obviously we would all agree from around the world that we don't want. There is nothing good about human trafficking. Do we really want that communication within those criminal circles is so secure and we will never know what they are doing? It's a those are very difficult questions to answer, because on one side we have this human right to privacy, to securing our information. And on the other hand, well, we need to protect vulnerable people. We need to have tools, and we will need to find a way. So it will not only be about this ultimately secure technology, it will be, well, what if I have now this ultimately secure technology? I mean, we have those questions now when those are leakage of data, from institutions. Oh, that they plugged in some software to still be able to tap into it, but then it's been abused by some other actors. Um, we have to navigate it because it obviously the complexity is really high. You don't want to overprotect criminals too, right? How are we gonna solve it? We will in that human part of it. There's gonna be the technology part, and there's gonna be way where it's gonna be messy, but we will be layering it and navigating through difficult conversations where we can have a look on that, no matter how secure it was, and what it will take to have that authority. And we will make mistakes. We will, because it's totally new level of security. Um, it will allow us to, on one side, trust each other more, but it will also give, probably I envision that it will give the states a lot of power of controlling where it can be disclosed and where not, on the legal level, because technologically it's going to be secure, and what it means. You have this ethical hacking and hacking. The lines are always blurry, and I think you really captured it well in that question. It's not only here. It's all that. It's a geopolitics. It's a law. It's navigating what's good and bad, but who decides what's good and bad? And we will have to go through almost everything what we've been inventing, the laws, and add that layer, what it means now to interact with this level of capabilities of the technologies like quantum computers, what it means to interact with ultimately secure communication, and what it means to be able to sense things to this extent, to get this information about human body, our brain. uh, it will get us to a lot of ethical questions, and I hope we are ready to have those discussions.
It it comes back to that what you brilliantly pointed out at the very start about catching up with the government governance policy part. which we are lacking even with AI right now, right? And the pure unadulterated version of security or surveillance alike, both of those heavily imbalances this, how do you say, interface of society, where the non-malicious elements and parties, their privacy is being breached because of complete surveillance. But then on the other hand, the malicious parties, their privacy is not being breached, and you cannot predict their malicious intents and motives and the future plans, because you've established a administration, a form of governance where you just cannot try to breach out that layer of privacy, regardless of what the content of exchange of communication there is. How exactly do you feel governance or decision making at the administration level changing with the inclusion of artificial intelligence, to the extent that it is being induced right now in every each and every element of society? And why I ask you that question is because you are working in the quantum domain, right? And there are talks of quantum having the potential to empower artificial intelligence even more. So, like, what do you say the dynamic would be like?
Um, it's going to be fascinating and it's going to be complex because um, AI is already used in so many places, and there is so much data that is being gathered about our interactions with AI. And it's one thing is that you always have a society on a different generations, right? But we will have a whole new again generation that is brought up with AI tools, and there are already studies where how we develop a different way of speaking while interacting with the AI. How, I mean, when we speak, right? Speaking is also a way we define how we think. It's one of the tool. So, and that data is being gathered, data is being analyzed, and that it's being thrown back on us on by those systems, and they not yet that smart, they are still, those models are still quite rule based. And what will be later on, what if they get smarter, and how much it's back again to this, like how many rules should be imposed on those systems so we can interact with them but have a still control of that they serve us and what it means to serve us. And I think that's a very important question to keep asking ourselves, because now when we have AI, quantum will accelerate AI, empower it, but also deliver new data to AI, right? So it's both ways: computationally accelerate, deliver more data, more detailed data about the systems, and it. But it is a tool. All those tools are developed by humans. It's not okay to just sit and say, "Oh, they will just take us over." I don't like that polemic, because wait a minute, are we already like throwing our tools and we say, well, we have no chance, so it will just come on us? Well, maybe we do have to think about it, that there has to be rules, legal rules, legal tools, rules embedded in those systems, that we insist that there is a place where you can intercept the way those models and work and impact us. We need to study those interactions. It shouldn't be only AI analyzing those interactions. We should take them back and understand if the way we are evolving with those tools is what we really want. If we, do we want to think like an AI and start to all speak in this like a very proper way, over edited, filled with amazing adjectives all the time and something? Do we want it? Or do we want to enhance an education on keeping what this human way of interacting that is still driven by the emotions, that is still driven by really who we are, not what the computer, what the machine that analyzes data is, but what we are, and we need to find a way of impacting it. Maybe there is no easy way on a technological level, but we developed as humanity culture, we developed laws, we developed exactly geopolitical interactions, diplomacy. We have other tools, not pure algorithms, to find a way that will cover us, and we are growing the tools that serves us, not we serve the tools. It's and it starts already now. It should, we should assure that we understand what it means when AI teaches me how I should speak, or I teach AI how it should speak, what it means. And I think that at the moment we are not doing that. We are doing it way too little. We are bringing it back, the feedback between interdisciplinary experts, between various people that bring their perspective and knowledge and understanding, is still too slow comparing to how fast, like 2 years ago, natural language models were nothing good. I've been testing them for like 10 years, when they were emerging, and I remember playing with them. It was really ridiculous. And now it's, I mean, it's almost scary how fast it went once it went. Um, and we are not that fast with making our regulations, and we need to maybe find a way. I'm all for progress. When you look on science, then you always want to say as fast as possible. Let's get develop it. Let's grow. Let's make it. Yeah, maybe. But then we need an equal amount of people engaging on this social parts, when they really bring their knowledge, what it means for the next generations, what it means for young people that will be brought up with those tools. Now we have all this, about teaching AI to kids. Do we even know how we want to do it? I don't think we know. And that is frightening, that we do not have a plan based on actually understanding what those machines are really capable and how they work. We have too little feedback.
How do you see this? Okay, let's talk about the space sector, the growth, because the growth has been colossal in the
Yeah.
space domain, right? uh, how do you see us evolving in terms of this societal fabric that we had been talking about from the past few minutes, when we bring in the entire equation, the element of dividing a chunk of humanity as an out of earth, out of space inhabiting populace? Like, how do you see society evolving in that regard? Like, we maybe build a moon base, or we are able to successfully build a bigger international space station or something. I don't know, but when we talk about going outside of earth and
Yeah.
inhabiting the space, how do you see these societal regulations that we've developed surviving and sustaining? Because it's very easy for all of this order that we have built up to collapse when there isn't really a lot of feedback, as you said, in terms of the systems, the institutions that we've built. How do we prepare for that eventuality?
Um, the same. I mean, you basically point, you just open another box. There is a box of problems because of quantum. There is this box of problems because of AI. And then there is a box of problems with space. And it's again, it's very universal. The questions we need to ask ourselves. There is this drive of going there, of exploring, of adventure. But space, until now, have not been very well regulated. What it means, we were keeping it, as an international waters. They were kept um, equal, open to everyone. Of course, that immediately says what it means to open to everyone if only 5 countries been there ever. So you immediately go from almost 200 countries to only 5. You quickly get the feeling that this availability of technology is something we are not undermining what it really means, and what the countries that have not been developing some tech, or not even are close, right? How they should look on what's going on, and what it means that one country has capabilities and actually will be executing on mining in space. What it means technologically, right? That's an easy question. That's cool, right? We're gonna have all those new materials, like we can be excited about it. But geopolitically, based on the divisions of on the and differences between different nations on the access to materials and those technologies, it raises a lot of worrying questions. And that's the same. Back to this, what it means with AI, what it means with quantum, and with space is the same. It's because of the, it's like going to a new land, but that new land has materials, have knowledge of testing new technologies, right? It's who's gonna be leading the base on Moon? To whom will belong Moon? Does it belong to every human? We were all looking, for all the generations on the moon. It belongs to all of us. It's our, but what if someone takes it? Has a, and this someone is really not hard to imagine who's gonna be that, because technologically, it's who is also capable. It's a very simple question. Who has capabilities, money, and going there? And we are not having good laws about it. So I've been on a meeting on the space, and I found it fascinating that space law, yes, it exists, but it's been written. And when you have something open when something is written very general, it leaves a lot of window for interpretation. And now you have different levels of interpretation. You have an interpretation driven by your intentions, right? And that is like easy to point fingers. That's a very like, oh, that's because they are the. But there is like a very simple part. It's been translated to different languages, and in every language, that word might have a smaller or a broader definition. That word itself, written, gives a different opportunities to different countries because of pure definition of the word. And in legal terms, and when we're talking about such sensitive technologies, with space, it's hard to talk about one technology, right? Space, we need to think about space more like, yeah, as I say, it's like conquering new space, new land, new. It's totally different, and yet again, it's this universal problem. How do we make sure that it benefits all of us and it benefits all of us in the way that actually is aligned with what is good for us? Because our human needs need to be a driver for that. And need of exploration is one need, of course. But once that all of those materials, all of those know-hows are brought back, we need to find a way of sharing it, of building something that actually serves us, not divide us. It's easy to say, like, when we, well, it serves, but it just serves a very few, and then they have it good. And yes, of course, there is two sides of fence, and then it's probably better to be on one than on the other. But the world we're creating is the world that we all have to live in. And if you on the bearer side of the fence, you're still behind the fence. You are in your own type of prison, and the world you live might still not be a world that you, on a human level, wanted to be part of. Because there is something very freeing in being able to go to another countries, explore and connect. And I believe that that is what makes us human. That is our ultimate human wherever we are around the world. We want to connect. We want to be within nature. We don't want to be forbidden that. And that's the world we need to figure out how to create. If it's with space, with leveraging space, the same technological aspect, but the legal aspect needs to be worked on, and it needs to be worked on fast. How? There are plenty of brilliant people around the world. We just need to make sure that they meet and they talk and they can work on it.
We talked about these deficits a bit, talking about maybe the most bleeding edge work that is being done in the domain of science and technology. What for you is some of the most fascinating and cool piece of work in any domain, uh, which you find is really, really pushing humanity by leaps and bounds further, but is not really talked about that much?
I don't know, it's easy to get a bias. Like if I'm like doing quantum, suddenly most of my peers are quantum. So I get this bias, like everyone talks about quantum, and then I go home for dinner to my parents. And then, well, no one really talks about quantum, like it's not a topic. So, I wouldn't know. So like I can't tell with some other domains. We on one hand we are very interdisciplinary, but on the other hand things are so complex. So you will have a whole communities on that. I believe that for me, maybe because I am not part of it, I have this feeling that we do not talk enough about genetics somehow in a big picture. I think that we talk way too little about neuroscience. Uh, we have enough, and that's because also of we had a lot on the like chemical and biology because of Corona that brought a lot of topics to the public space. There was huge progress made, and I think it made us all aware of the importance. We had now the technology, because of the geopolitical situation. I think it's also brought, especially cybersecurity, it's brought to the table quite a lot. Um, but I believe that those topics that are, as you say, undercover, right? Those that do not get some. Well, they develop fast too. I mean, they also leverage AI. They will also leverage quantum. That's what happens with the DNAs. That's what happens with understanding how our brain works. We have all those amazing quantum sensors, right, to get to even more sensitive signals from our brains. That will impact neuroscience. And if it will loop back, that's the intelligence systems. That's when we really know how we think. Um, and in the world of manipulation, understanding how we actually work is great, but isn't that also scary? So this that's like completely undercovered, I think, in main media topics to really broad it. So if we are not talking about AI, which is so hyped, right? So everyone will knows about it, and yet again, on the impact of it, the conversations are so still immature. Then on the level of neuroscience and genetic manipulation, I believe that mostly we know what we saw in some kind of sci-fi movies, like about that someone got, and that's our only education as a society, which is great. If you think about it, sci-fi movies are amazing tool to communicate all those very complex scenarios to um, to everyone, that people will be like, oh, this neuroscience, I get it. It should be talked about it. And maybe we still not use that tool enough. Maybe we are not leveraging sci-fi movies enough to communicate those fast developing fields. Books used to be, and those movies were to inspire us, about technology. But maybe they should also educate us more about visions and versions of future where those technologies are applied, because people will not read a quantum mechanics 101 book, but they will go to the movie and look on a beautiful movie and learn from that what was happening. And that should be a tool maybe that we should be leveraging, not only for far away future but also for future now, to bring people and engage people already now into those conversations in the way that it can relate to them. Not a perfect way of explaining a qubit, but a perfect way of explaining why they should care that that technology is there, is developed, and they should care if it is brought to schools and how it is brought in schools, how it is brought to the strategy of their country, what it will mean. And that cannot be on the technical level. That has to be on this relatable level, economical, societal, where people can say like, I get it. It matters to me, Genetically modified food. We did that with a lot of other tech. We brought people as a whole, that they understood a lot of technologies and their implications for their everyday life, and we need to do that with those two. um,
That's what has always been done with history, right? To commoditize history in forms of or expressions of music, literature, art and craft. Movies, plays, dramas, theater. You do that, and then you make people aware, even though they may
Yes.
not know the nitty gritties of the historical events, the history as it is. They do get to have a basic crux and an understanding of the overall holistic development of events. And the same sci-fi does the same thing for science. Even though it might not convey the mathematics behind the idea itself, but it does, to whatever degree, makes you start thinking about the idea at large, which is umpteen times enough to propel somebody to themselves be motivated to then go on about wanting to understand the mathematics behind the idea.
Yes, right? It's enough. I mean, you can't expect that we all so different and we all have such a different perspective to bring. So our job is to inspire as many people as possible, but not only to do the technical part, to do all the parts that needs to be done with the passion and engagement and understanding that it really matters to work on it, because they will have their own impact. Is it on the technical part, implementation part, economical part of their community, right? So uh, there is this level, we talk about geopolitics, but there is also more local part. How all those things, like with climate change, actually, the movement did amazing job of taking something extremely complex and talking to people locally also, and talking with them what that means to them, what those regulations means on the future of their small society, on some island. How do they feel about those things? We did a great job of really communicating it, that people started to have an opinions, even if we don't agree. No, we don't have to agree, but what we have to is to engage. The worst is this passive acceptance. But if we can engage people, that they don't feel intimidated about having opinion on AI, and having opinion on quantum, having opinion, a real opinion about the space strategy and engagement of their country, that's that's what we need. That's where everyone will start to contribute and be conscious about it, be excited, and feel empowered that their voice matters, that we are now building, and we have tools for it, right? We have internet, you and me sitting far away from each other, having this conversation, exchanging thoughts. That's the power we've built. We it's not anymore accessible to the richest king that can travel to the other part of the world. We all can engage, and then we should go further. We should not only engage in conversations, but we should engage in building the world that we want to have for all of us. And we all can make it better, locally, bigger, and every engagement will be so important. It's an important in schools. Like, who's in schools? It's not a top politician. It's a teacher. It's a teacher that inspires people. Like, we all tell stories, how it was that teacher. And they are typically, it's maybe your neighbors. The teacher is not a far away person. It's often part of your everyday life. You might be going to the same grocery shop. It's really close home. And yet that again, that person impacts what you're gonna be doing in a future, and if you will care. So empowering teachers and empowering people locally to care, to think about it, is how we can make the next generations ready. And they have to be ready. I mean, they cannot go into this world, oh, I don't know. And we are naturally, as humans, curious. I don't think there is anything that we don't have inherently in us to tackle difficult problems. We have all in us. And it is yet another difficult problems we need to tackle. We just need to make sure that a lot of us come together, not just few, because that's going to be too little. And I hope so. And that's why, like with my business, like I build community, I talk with people, and that's what I love actually with quantum security defense. It's the conversation it allows me to have with people around the world, educate, but also hear what's important. and how to navigate it. And I can tell you, people want to navigate it. It's not like everyone is like, oh, now the politics is like that, and there's plenty of people that want to navigate it on that higher level. What do we do despite politics, despite everything? What do we do to keep going somewhere where it's good for us as humans? How we can keep talking with each other, even we have borders, even we have all those, things that they are being put sometimes fakely as divisions between us. But in the end, all around the world, we all humans, we all love food. We want to enjoy our family. There's so many things that we will top agree on. We want our kids to be safe, right? Nothing you have to discuss with anyone in the world. Do you want your kids? You don't want your kids to be safe, probably, right? I mean, it's absurd. We all want the same. We want our kids to thrive. We want our next generations to have it better than we had. It's very natural. We will all agree on that. And we should take those human things we agree on that connect us, not divide us, and keep building world, because the world of this quantum and AI and space is becoming fast. And it's so fast. So those conversations are so crucial to have. And wherever someone builds the wall between us, wherever someone says us and them, I hope that there are a lot of people says, wait, 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 it's only us. If I look, and then again you can go to space and look from above. It's only us. It's just humans. Humans that wants to live, that wants to live well, that wants to think, explore, learn, love, and I say, and eat good food, but all over the world. It's only us. And those tools that we're developing should serve us. And it's big my drive, like it's very personal for me. Um to have those conversations myself, and I try to keep bringing them to exactly use sometimes take the yeah. Yes, it's important to talk about the technology, but how about we talk about how that technology should serve us humans? Let's not forget about it. It's and I love engaging, and I love doing business, and I do business development. I have my own startup with deep tech, but I want it to create better world, and I'm very happy each time I meet people that challenge me to see even different perspective, somewhere around the world, and I say, yeah, that's right. Like I love to hear that. Yes, of course, if you're in a country where you have dry seasons and you have issues with getting water, it would be amazing to have sensors that detect water. That is the most important thing for your country, because that will really serve people in your country. You probably don't care about other aspects, and having that for each of us geographically, we will have different focus, and we should have access to it, and we should engage with it to go back. What's good for me? And for me, it will always be the same. Access to water is something we all agree on, right? We all want to have it. Clean water.
How do you take the thought that has just springed up in your head and then go on about building something tangible in the real world with it? That could be a business related question, but even if not from the entrepreneurial lane, just building something. You have good knowledge, you've been working in some domain, maybe publishing a book on it, writing a blog post or something, whatever, like just manifesting something tangible out of the thought that you had in your head. How do you go on about doing that?
It's a good question. So I took my thought, I took my thoughts that I didn't even knew what they were, and I got curious about them. It's back to something that we as humans are so good at. We're curious. Sometimes we get so distracted, especially in this world. There's so much um, consuming of input. Um, but if you spend a bit of time with yourself and just get curious about this voice in your head, as you said, about this story you want to write, about this part, there is no answer. Like I was trying to give that feel that I've been going through my career like in a total zigzag, and now I'm doing something that is very um vulnerable. It's this childhood pure thought of doing something, and I don't know even it will be possible, right? I don't know even where it will take me. um but I really wanted to engage with it, and by engaging with it, I saw that I was getting to know it better. I was getting to know myself better, because I was just really curious about what I am bringing with me. And it might not be revolutionary, it doesn't have to be, but it is mine, and I have only one life. And I thought, wouldn't that be great to just get to know what I want to bring to this world, and then bring it on my terms and in my own way. But it's a journey. Like, it's sometimes easier and safer to fall into structure that tells you what to do. We all rebel against it. We hate it. Like, there's no one that will tell you that oh, I love it. No, we hate it. But it's so safe on the other hand. It just gives you that structure. But the truth is, we all know who we are inside. We have those voices. We have this like, oh, what if I've been writing that book? Oh, I mean, I could be singing that song and just try to see what it is. It might not lead anywhere beyond getting to know oneself. Like one thing for me, actually, just before I figure out that I want to really be an entrepreneur, I was writing a sci-fi novel for years. It's in my head. I had it, and I was shy about it, and I was like, oh. But at some point, I at least got brave enough to start writing it, not just living in my head, but just start to write it. And I was like, oh my God, I'm so bad in writing. I didn't like it. Looked so perfect in my head, and it was so not nice written. It was like, oh no, my language skills are not there. It's just like, you can't read it. It's so silly. And it was very judgmental, but I kept doing it. I kept just writing all those ideas that were in my head. And actually, just before I was quitting my job, uh, like a month before, I still thought I am to be a writer, that it's about that writing. And at some point, because I've been engaging with it, I've been curious, I allowed myself to keep writing that. And I was like, I don't want to write about a woman doing teleportation. I want it. I also want to write a book about it. I think it would be amazing to publish it one day. It's also on my, to do when I'm brave enough to really do it. Um, but being it, I was like, I don't want to only write about that person. I would like to really do something like that. Not as fancy maybe as in a book. In a book, you can go completely wild, and you can skip all the steps of getting it. You can just plant yourself 20 years ahead and then take adventure from there. Easy peasy. In a real life, you have to still live those 20 years and get there. But I was like, I think that's what I want. I want to be on that journey. And I would have never came. It would have never been as clear in my head that that's what I want if I have not allowed myself the first step of writing the idea, letting it build, letting it grow in me, letting. So I guess that's the path. It's gonna be messy path. I would have not thought that I'm gonna have two startups. You know, I that was not my. I knew I want to do entrepreneurship. I knew I want to do quantum teleportation. That's all I knew. And by going out to people from the day one, I've been meeting people from whom I've been learning. I've been learning how to do actually business. I had no idea how to do that. I've been constantly learning by meeting other people and by engaging with what I wanted. I found a ways of actually manifesting it, as you know. So taking just those thoughts and actually making them tangible in the real world. I'm still not a lady, as in my book, that will be teleporting data to space, to save her friend from a disaster or whatever. I'm not there, but I'm actually in the real world doing something I really relate to versus only having it in my head when it's hunting. And when I still don't know. So when I look back where I was 3 years ago and how confused I was, you know, I I love where I am now. Now I'm at least working on it, engaging with it, and then keep on getting curious. Where are you getting me, little thought? What are you actually? And I think I will still be surprised. I mean, it's now 2 years of like really fully engaging in it. I mean, I met people to build two businesses with. They've been supportive. um I'm now engaging with so many people worldwide, learning from them and building business, helping them build their business, learning and educating. uh, and I can't predict where it will get me, but I love the journey.
No, I think that is actually very true. Uh, you want to break a wall and you keep on hitting it with your head, chances are you probably won't be able to break it. But you making a pivot and bringing a hammer to then bash it with, you will be able to take down the wall with eventual effort. And
Yeah.
it's actually about that. You have a particular end goal in mind, right? The girl who teleports to save her friends. You might not be able to do that while you just keep on thinking about it. Someday there's suddenly a device that falls into my hand or something that grants me ability to just teleport, open portals or stuff. No, okay, not happening. But how about if I spend the next 20 years, 30 years working in a domain, maybe I can come as close to that at doing something that is realistically possible and then be able to break down that metaphorical wall. Because I, instead
Yeah.
of using my head, I used a hammer to break it down.
Yeah,
Right?
I really think it's about being, engaging. It's about engaging, and you one always gets surprised. And the thing is that I sometimes think that if we allow ourselves to have our dream ultimately big, as crazy, like, I want to teleport human consciousness to space. Bum. This is what I would like. Okay. And then all the sci-fi things that I could imagine with that. That is, the dream is so big that obviously there is a long path there. There is a lot of wiggling around it, and somehow it's less intimidating. If we make our dreams very little, the failures are in our face. I don't know. I want to write a nice article. Okay, it's it's a great dream, or it's a good dream, but it's very scary because it's so close and it's somehow too touchable. So, but if you push it, that you want to write, I don't know, uh, describe something, if it's so crazy as you were now mentioning, about portal things, and you if that dream is so big then suddenly writing an article, a little one pager, seems okay. It's not like you're gonna fail on your giant dream if you do it good or bad. You're just simply engaging, and it can be very freeing. For me, at least, it is. It's like, well, I can't mess it up that much, about teleporting human consciousness to space. Like, it's just, I'm not even close, right? So everything what I do, I mean, it's fine. It's good. And um, and this, like, a very old school way, dream big, right? One can really use it for putting the fear a little bit away. You can't mess up with a crazy dream. It's just too crazy to really do. Like, I mean, so what? Maybe no one will like what I said today, but I want to teleport human consciousness to space. That will not ruin that dream, Like, it doesn't matter.
Mhm. An extension to the same question: how do you have people pay you for what you do? Now, this is a completely entrepreneurial question, unlike the previous one, where it was about just getting some material amalgamation of that notion that struck up in your head. Unlike that, how do you have compel people to actually pay you for something that you, for that particular notion, let's just say? Surely one aspect is being of value, whatever you do, having that of be of value for the other person. The
Yeah.
other being persistent in your craft, where you're constantly evolving or working towards
Mhm.
evolving your work. But apart from those few staples, what is something else that you'd recommend people?
Talk to other people. So because, like, when you say bring value, um, the one thing I for sure learned during those this time of doing entrepreneurship and exactly trying to answer, like, how do I do what I really want to do and still have a job out of it, right? I mean, it's an I mean, it's a very common question. Like, it's also sometimes what hinder us from engaging with those crazy dreams that we have. It's like, well, how will I ever make money out of that? In my case, I simply started to ask how to make money with it. I had no idea. I went, and there is so much knowledge, and you need people. You can't do things alone. Like, we also not meant to be alone as humans. We are not. We are interconnected species. We like connecting with people, and to be able to contribute, your contribution has to land somewhere. Now, the cool thing is that nowadays we are not geographically bounded as much as we used to be. A long time ago, if you're in a village, there was no one studying physics, then you would have not had any chance. Right? Nowadays, you can find your tribe around the world. You can find your people, uh, but you will not find them. You will not find the right people if you are not bringing yourself the right way. So it starts with you. It starts with keep bringing this really what you want to, And it's okay to be confused. It's okay to write the first articles just the same as everyone else. It's okay to repeat and do, but by doing, by action, you will one naturally evolve, and one naturally finds one's own voice. And once you will really lean into that, you will find your tribe. I can't promise you will make huge money. Okay, that is it's maybe not, if something what you bringing is very specific, very unique, um, you might find only a small audience. And maybe it is so unique that even if you take all the people around the world, that audience is still relatively small. And maybe you will have to be a bit creative. Maybe you will be able to bring this unique thing and then on top of that do something. That's what people do, right? They love, I think art is amazing example. Let's take it. When people use, could not sell it to their local neighborhood city, their art. But because of access through internet, they can sell their art worldwide, right? You will have people posting their beautiful art consistently, keep on delivering them in the hope that they will reach people that will say, I love it. And first they will be loving only few people. Maybe at some point there will be someone that will be ready to pay for it. Eventually there might be someone that say, I really like your art. Would you make a art for my book? Would you make an art for my advertising campaign? I really like what you do. I've been engaging with you. I like it. Come with me. And now you will be on that crossroad where you have not been a year ago when you've posted nothing on if your pictures were always landing in the drawer. Suddenly you are still not making money, right? They maybe not make money. But there starts to be some options where you can again navigate what feels right with you, how you want it. I mean, for some of us, what we deliver, we don't even want to make money on it, right? There are some parts of what we do that we like, oh, if I'm going to be getting money of it, I won't be able to really do it this way. I will have to adapt. I don't want it. I'm going to make money about those things. I like doing them. They bring me money and then they allow me to do this part just the way I like it. Well, I don't want money for it. But it's a choice, right? And I believe that we can engage in the world and bring our things and that the world is ready for our things. If the world is ready for cat videos, the world is ready for other contributions. It's you can find your people, but it starts with this very maybe I should talk to somebody, maybe I have to show it to somebody. And selling bread is easy. Every neighbor needs your bread. Selling quantum computer is much harder. You need to go out and meet different type of people. You need to meet them globally. You need to and now selling I don't know, a sculpture, right? It's not the same as selling a digital image of something that we all want to have. It's different. But if you're bringing that different, you will still find your people. It might be harder. You might have plan B, C, and D and E to sustain yourself until you get there, because it might take a year, might take 5, might take 10, might take 20. But we all have one life, and I honestly think that we all gonna be much more happy if we allow ourselves on any little scale we can afford. Sometimes you can't afford. Sometimes you have to have a full-time job to provide for your family. Keep it. But allow yourself something that is so inherently yours and try to bring it. And it will take you on this amazing journey. And it might not bring money. I can't promise money, it's no one can promise. But I am 100% sure that it would be very giving back, and suddenly everything you do will be just that little bit better because you're allowing yourself to also bring part of really you into the world on your terms. And I think there's so much we will still see from humanity. We already saw with internet, right? We saw this diversity of contributions, so many different ways of engaging. Um, I mean, what will be more? What if more people will be engaging, right? What if the next part of of the world will be engaging with the same intensity into sciences, writing. I think we are not even scratching the potential of human creativity, because if you look on who's writing books, it's still quite privileged, statistically. Uh, what if this drive, this feeling inside that you also can bring your story into a book, will touch all the hearts around the world, and then people will feel empowered to bring it in. There's gonna be so much
Yeah.
knowledge about interaction, about communities, uh, about everything, about food, about those cuisines from secret places. And I think we will be discovering, the more people gonna be engaging, the more we're gonna be discovering the beauty and nuances, and this whole, the very good word in physics, a spectrum of possibilities, and all the colors. And I don't know, I think that's the most beautiful part actually of the times we live in, is that there are those technological tools, um yeah, that I can have the conversation with you today.
It was lovely how you went upon these different shades of this particular very niche question that I asked you, like, how do you sell your craft? And then you just touched all these different layers. Like, yes, that's what happens with, open source projects. Everything, like Linux at one time started as an open source project. Now there is an entire community there, and automatically that builds your authenticity as a developer, as a creator, as whatever. And then you can utilize that authenticity to maybe do the money generation stuff elsewhere, right? So that was
Wikipedia, right? Wikipedia.
Wikipedia, right, exactly.
It's an old concept, right? Encyclopedia was before, right? But it became for free, accessible everywhere. And yet again, they figured out how to bring something so that we all believe in it, that they are able to have a job out of that and keeping it the way they wanted it to be from a get go. That's a huge success story, right?
Coming to the climax of the conversation, what would be your address, your word to humanity at large?
Advice.
Address your word to humanity, like you'll be addressing them. What would be a collective message to humanity at large?
It's a very tough one. It's a very, very tough one. Um, just remember who you were when you were a child. Trust it, because that's probably the real you, not yet impacted. The raw, um, beautiful, and very often courageous, with how you think, and just get curious about it and keep bringing it, because the world would be so much better if we all try to bring that innocent beauty that we all were born with to this world. I can't imagine better world than the world of filled with people that are keep bringing their hopes when they dare, and how they would like to impact it with something good. And I just keep my fingers crossed. Each and every one of you, of us, will find a way, um, yeah, to bring it. And I want to see it. I want to hear it.
uh,
That's how it is. I really would love it.
Thank you so very much. I really appreciate you for agreeing to having this conversation. And
Thank you for having me. This was
no, like,
really
likewise,
lovely.
more so for, just as I previously mentioned, just going through all these different layers and shades of all the perspectives that we were talking about. Like, really,
Yes.
really grateful. Thank you so very much.
Thank you for being amazing host. I will give a shot to your name. Haftir. Haftir.
Bhavya. The V is to be a little more prominent. Bhavya Dheer.
Haftir.
That's lovely. That's lovely. That's lovely. Good work.
That's a very